Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome back to What's Up Waco, the podcast that loves to introduce you to the people, the places, and the properties that make Waco an excellent community to live. Hey everybody, welcome back to What's Up Waco, the podcast that introduces you to Waco one small business owner at a time. Today we're joined by Deanna Garrison. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You are my second repeat guest.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
It is.
So fun. The Hellbergs came on the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They'll be opening soon, so.
Yeah. Their
Oh,
construction's going well.
Yeah. It looks really good.
Yes.
But you are part owner of Garrison Construction LLC.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess you've got an eye on what's going on in the area. So
Yes.
you know what you're talking about when you say construction looks like it's going well.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so we've done this before, but the last time we talked about home building was like pandemic-y, and there were a lot of just anomalies that were happening then, like being able to get appliances and windows and all the things. And so I invited you back because I want to talk about, in a normal-ish market, what it really looks like right now to buy a home, and the kind of questions that you can answer here in a podcast so people are better prepared if they want to build a custom home or look at one of your spec homes and just be ready for it. Because there's a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yes.
And I know most people just kind of jump out with, how much is it going to cost per square foot? And that's like, there's so much. That's like the last question. Almost. I don't know. What do you think? Would it be the last question? Would it be a question? Would you be like, we'll get there? Top 5?
It's probably top 5,
Okay.
but we really don't quote out cost per square foot because there's so many variables that are outside the living square footage and
Right.
inside the living square footage that can affect that number. And we truly price the actual floor plan and the set of plans that are delivered. But there are some folks out there that don't have a real conscious idea of what it does cost to build.
Sure.
And so just having a range of, say, 200 to 220 a square foot is kind of where you're going to be if you're in a 2,800 square foot house. Then that helps them kind of get their arms around whether they can afford it and where to start with a floor plan.
Okay. Oh, that's great. And then if somebody says my budget's like in this general area, are you like, here are some floor plans that would fit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like you need to be within this much on living square footage, this much on your porches, 2-car garage, or, a 3-car garage adds costs.
Right.
It's not at the same $200 a square foot cost because it's, empty space, but it still does. It adds foundation, it adds walls, it adds lumber, roof,
yeah.
all the things. So.
And tying it all together. And then, or then you've got crazies like me who want a 2,300 square foot living space floor plan, but then I need like 6,400 square feet of concrete under it all because I want a huge wraparound porch, right?
Correct. Yes.
So that's where that whole price per square foot is very malleable. It's very, you can't like punch it down to
correct
that. So a range is good.
Yes.
Is it
that
easier?
just helps start. So
Okay.
we've had a few people come recently. Somebody had looked at some track home
Okay.
in, say, Glen Rose,
Okay.
and had an idea of what they thought a house would cost to build. And then when we put the numbers on it, it was much higher, and they were in a big shock because they were already in negotiations on the land thinking they could get a 2,500 square foot house for $325,000. And that just doesn't work.
I wish we could.
Yes.
And custom.
Correct.
I mean, I think that's a big piece of it.
Correct.
I mean, That would be great. 320. I'm down. Sign me up.
Yeah, if you could rewind the clock 8 years, then yes, we
That
could.
was doable.
Yes, right.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned land because that is one of my questions. When do you like to be brought into the process? Do you like it when somebody already has land? Do you like to see the land with them? What works best?
We work either way is fine. It
Okay.
really, if somebody is very much on a strict budget, then having guidance before they purchase the land is really critical because the cost, like there's so many additional costs that can be incurred based upon how the lot is laid out.
Sure.
So and the soil itself.
Yeah.
So there's parts of our area here that have some very expansive soils, and there's additional cost in order to put the foundation in when you're in those expansive soils.
Okay.
And but like so where we are in China Spring and we do a lot of building there, we have a lot of rock. Rock is our friend.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't swell. It's hard to put grass on top of it when it's done. But as far as a solid foundation, I think the Bible might kind of lead you in that way as well.
Cornerstone.
Right. The wise man built his house upon a rock.
Yep.
The ones that like to build in the expansive soils, there's just a lot more removal and replacement of non-expansive material as well as injection and then heavier foundations and beams and things that have to be built in order to make sure that you have a good foundation. And that can affect your overall build cost.
Totally. And also raw land also presents other issues because then my mind goes straight to our land in Bosque County. If we wanted to drop a well, we're looking at $100,000.
Right.
As opposed to maybe Hamilton County where you could do it for 18.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Same system, just it's a deeper drill for where we are.
Correct.
And it's also so much rock.
Correct.
To go through,
yes.
Right? So it might be beneficial to get, at least before you close on the land, your builder's final, hey, I don't know if this is going to work or this is going to add this additional cost, or are you prepared for XYZ?
Yes. So utilities, water availability is your number one thing. And I would say get with your real estate agent before you buy any land. Make sure that you can get water to it because that is going to be the resource that is going to be the most difficult to obtain as we move forward in the coming years.
Oh, yeah.
As well as the last thing on the lot and the land is whether it's flat or it's got slope. Okay. If your house site has a significant amount of slope, you have additional costs incurred with either bringing in material to level it out or turn down slabs and other things that just, that make things a little, can add $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to an overall build just to bring dirt in to level the site out so that you're not driving up into your garage at a steep slope.
So it's not like a 90-degree angle trying to defy gravity just to get in your house.
Retaining walls are not, inexpensive. So
no. And the stone is not, all of it.
Correct.
The engineering, the stonework, all of it. Oh, not. Okay. All right. So it would be good to have your builder involved as you're figuring out your land if you don't already have land. I actually, you guys would be so proud of me. I have actual questions put together today. We just talked about this. I think we're going to talk about all these. How do you work with the natural features of a lot to maximize the home's design? Like, will you, if it does have a cool slope and nobody's worried about the cost of dirt work and you can build it up a little bit, do you customize windows or which way the house is facing? Like, how do those conversations come out?
Yeah,
Not so much.
I don't really have a lot on that one.
No.
Sorry.
That's when people come in and they're like, I just want a big window. And you're like, I can make that happen.
Yeah, you can have a big window and it can overlook whatever area you want it to look. Where do you want to look? Where do you want to drive in at? We're just there to say, if you want to drive in on this side, it's probably a bad idea because of how the ground runs. And we're very conscious about water flow.
Yes.
We definitely make sure that our foundations are above natural grade by at least 12 inches. We use 12-inch forms.
Okay.
And then we're looking at how the water moves around your property.
Super smart in Texas.
Correct.
That's huge. I think a lot of people don't realize how much Texas land moves.
Right.
Right? You'd expect it in a place like California where there's earthquakes or whatever. But out here where it feels still, it's not.
Okay.
And there's a lot of water, right?
Yes. It's just more like we can get really heavy downpours at times.
Mm-hmm.
And so making sure that when that rain comes off your roof, et cetera, that it is moving around and away from your house.
Yep. Okay. Great. Let's see if ChatGPT came up with any fun questions for us, Deanna, or if we can just move past this. Oh, how involved is the client during the design phase?
Oh, very much so.
Oh. Okay.
It's really interesting. So we have two different types of customers or clients that come to us. Some have plans already drawn.
Okay.
And then they just want a price to build it. We typically will give them a range on that. We don't sit down and do a huge in-depth, like what flooring do you want in this room and that room and all of the questions that need to be answered to give an accurate price.
Broad strokes.
But we can kind of give them an idea where we would fall so they can make a decision on a builder.
Okay.
But we honestly recommend that you find and interview builders before you go through your design process because you can use not only the expertise of the designer, the plan designer, but you can use our expertise for, did you think about a dog wash? Did you think about, putting a refrigerator in your pantry? And the things that we see and the design elements that we see that are new and more prevalent that you may not have thought about already. That helps. And then also if you are on a budget, we can be that sound of reason that says, okay, well, if you really want this, then you're going to need to sacrifice something, other design element somewhere else, because overall you're going to end up exceeding your budget.
I do like, you guys are very good about making sure people stay within budget. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Yes,
This is where you want to be.
There are a number of stories that I've heard out there where, people get to the end of their build process and then they end up with a pretty steep bill from the builder at the end. And that's just, we're in a relationship from the beginning with our clients, and no one wants to give a low price and then spend the entire build process in a frustrated relationship because it didn't, it's going over budget.
Sure.
Without anybody making any decisions that caused it to go over budget. So we really do spend a lot of time and make sure that we are very conscious about it and give very realistic numbers on the cost to build and the estimates that we give out.
Good. Yeah. I know you and I don't remember if you talked about this, but one of the first times we met and we were talking about the metal doors, and how you can have the large metal doors. I'm just thinking about Instagram and Pinterest, and they really inform people on these cool design choices, like accordion doors, which where I came from were super cool because the indoor-outdoor living was possible, but not here. And you were like, why would you spend that much money on that door that you can open twice a year?
Right. And then an accordion door is going to run you between $15,000 and $25,000. And you may use it 6 weeks out of the year here, and you're still going to fight flies and all sorts of, bugs in and out of the house.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's realistic, but it has a very cool concept and thought.
It really is.
It is. I mean, and if you lived in those other states where it makes a lot of sense, then I would do it 100 times over. And I would say it was worth every penny to do.
Oh, yeah.
We tend to steer people away. I mean, you can get a standard, double iron door for $4,500.
Right.
And they're beautiful and you can see through them and, but you don't need to wrap them up and stick them in a wall.
Right. And you get the same effect. And I'm thinking of Sonoma Ridge and how it still had windows on each side too, right?
Yes.
So it just had the exact same effect without the cost.
Right.
And, putting a little common sense into action that maybe the accordion door doesn't work here.
Right.
But that's good. And so having questions like that or finding a design element that can achieve the look you're going for, that's what you're really good at. Like, what about this?
Right.
Okay, cool. You also mentioned interviewing builders. Are there questions or things you look for that you would recommend people just be mindful of, like red flags or just ideal questions that you wish people had asked? Like, why didn't you ask me about this? Because we're so great at this. Or why didn't you ask them how they came to that number? Or, you know what I mean? Yes. What would you ask a builder if you were interviewing somebody?
Oh, I would ask for referrals.
Yeah. Okay.
And referrals is somebody that's in process and as well as somebody who's completed the process, somebody who's been through design phase, and then somebody who's maybe lived in their house for a year. I would say it's really a lot of it's a personality fit, in my opinion. I would also ask questions of who their main point of contact is.
Yes.
So the larger the builder you have, larger size builder you have, they're going to have more layers of project managers between you and the owner. And so just being comfortable with what level of service you're going to get for the relationship that you're going to end up in with a builder.
Those are great points.
The other thing that I would ask is just how the builder works in their fee. So there's cost plus options, there's fixed price options. Fixed price is not as prevalent, at least in our business or in our company. We don't do a lot of fixed priced anymore based upon what we have been through over the last, since COVID and the fluctuations of materials and costs. We would have to take so much more of that risk on that you would end up paying more as a customer for a fixed price build. Plus, with custom homes, you really want the ability to customize it.
Right.
And in order to give the customer an accurate fixed price on the front end, you'd spend 6-8 months making sure every design element is fully thought through before you ever finalize the cost.
Okay.
So that you knew that you had everything covered and included in the build.
Okay.
And it just makes the process go a lot better in a cost plus situation where you haven't quite figured out how you want to finish your fireplace, whether you want to stack stone or a plaster or, a dry stacked looter. Any of those things have a different variation in cost. And you can put a generalized number in there and then know and give the customer options, whether it's over or under, but not try to decide that before you even sign a contract.
Okay. Oh, that's a lot of work to do if you don't even have a sign. Like, I would think I wouldn't do it.
Yes.
Be like, no. I think keeping the builder's fee and finding out how that works into the whole thing is that would be one of my red flags that I look out for. Like, are you asking me for a ton of money up front, or are you working off a very systematic draw?
Correct. Yes. Great point. And we are very transparent when we give someone an estimate. Our estimate has got a lot of detail in it. And at the very end, it's the builder fee. And it's 100% transparent where the builder fee is. And ours is a flat fee. It's not a percentage of every time we have a draw, we take a percentage.
Sure.
And there are some other companies out there that will put their builder fee embedded in all of the costs. And they will build all that up in the front end. Yeah. And they will end up collecting all of their money before you even finish framing.
That would be a red flag to me personally. Yes,
right. And sometimes it's not real transparent.
Yeah.
To the customer.
Well, and I like the flat fee idea because if you're providing, you obviously are full service. And so you already know what your consultation expertise and everything is worth. And you already know this is what we need to do for this. Here it is. There's no fluctuation. Your customer knows what to expect.
Yes.
Like that sounds like the best way to do it.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
Here we are in a room just like echo chambering each other. But, it just sounds like it's more beneficial for everybody. There's no shock at the end. Like we have a mutual friend who had a very large invoice delivered at the end of their build. $90,000 something-ish on top of what they already spent on a very gorgeous house. But that kind of thing is that's so scary. That is not $20 extra.
No. And people, yeah. So some customers come to us and they've heard these horror stories. So they plan for being over $50,000. And I like, no, you might want to plan to be over 5% of your build. Okay. Or if you knew that in your heart you like nice things and you knew that at some point in the design process you were going to pick something that was bougie.
You were going to pick all the top level.
Right. And then you wanted a little extra money to be able to make that happen. Then that might be a good thought. But otherwise, it's not necessary if it's done right on the front end.
Okay, very cool.
Other questions would be how does a contractor handle change orders?
Yes.
And what do those look like? Okay. Because you'll find that I'll always recommend you spend a lot of time in design phase and have a very solid set of plans to build with. It happens. You're 4 months later, you're in the middle of a build and all of a sudden you decide that you really want something that's different. Okay. And you want to change something. What does that change order process look like? For us, it's you request it, we price it out, and then you say yes or no. And if you say yes, then you pay for it immediately. Okay. It's not we save it for the end or we bake it into the costs and then at the end you get this big bill. So it's very transparent. It's signed off on. There's a cost associated with it. Okay. And sometimes there's a delay in construction associated with it. Sure. It depends how far along you are when you make your change and how many trades you have to bring back in to change it. So it can cost, but in the grand scheme of you spending all of this money on this large house, it's something you really want, then we're happy to work through it. So I would say asking builders how they document and how you work through change orders is a great question to ask from a consumer that's interviewing someone.
Okay. That's a good one, because a lot of times maybe you like a tile and then you're like, wait, I like this tile. And
that's
by
easy
the
to
way.
change.
Okay, so you're talking about like, ooh, this closet really sucks here. I can't walk through this hallway. Can we take it out, reverse it, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Those are like big structural, hold on.
Depending on when you
Depending
decide.
on where. Are there points in the process? I would just say yes. I'm going to answer my own question. Where a change order is just like, we are way past that. We can't.
I would really love to have a conversation, and I've said this at the very end of a lot of my builds, that in the last 3 weeks of building, I will accept no change orders. Let us finish the house, because you have a moving truck scheduled and you want to get in, and everybody is working towards an end goal. And if there's something that you want done that's different or changed, that we handle that after we close.
Oh, okay.
Just because those last 2 to 3 weeks are just
busy.
Yeah, I mean, we're just knocking out all the things, and we're taking care of all the little stuff that you don't think we see, that we do see. That's all being handled right before we say, okay, we're done. And so if somebody comes in and says, oh, by the way, I want to take this backsplash out and replace it with this tile, it can just kind of really put a glitch in
totally
the process.
The timeline,
right, exactly.
And nobody wants to, pay their mover. It's already expensive. Nobody wants to reschedule that moving truck.
I don't think
Just
so.
move in and then see. That's really neat, though, that you will do that after closing if it's really imperative in what the customer wants.
Yes.
Huh. Have you done that a lot?
No. No, usually I manage it somehow. In the last 3 weeks of making everything happen, we'll figure it out.
I feel crazy because
I'm in a high stress environment.
I know how you work, and so I'm back here kind of laughing at my own questions or smiling at myself when you're like, no, it's very detailed. And I'm like, yes, you're an engineer. All of your stuff is very detailed and very well thought out, which is a benefit of working with you.
Thank you.
Because there aren't really any surprises. And you do think 20 steps ahead and ask people, okay, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Take a look at this. And you let people make very informed decisions, which I think is
Thank you.
Amazing. You're welcome. But it's true.
Yes. It is. I mean,
it's how your brain works.
It is how my brain works, and I am an engineer, and I like to accomplish things. And so when we start your custom home, there is a plan, there is a strategy, and there's a goal, and we're all working towards getting that accomplished. So it's a well-tuned machine. There's trades working at certain times that work in and out to make sure that there's not a downtime on a project.
It's staggered and scheduled. You know who can be in there at what time and not mess up what something has already been completed.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think that's a really good point. Like, please understand, you see it. Like, if there's a ripple in the wall, or if that outlet isn't all the way covered by the little outlet cover, like, I guarantee your builder saw it. Wait until, do you guys do a final walkthrough on your customs?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would wait until then. Do you do like big builders do their blue tape day or whatever? Do you have one of those, or do you just wait?
No, well, so that's a great question. We don't typically blue tape before the final walkthrough because our product is warranted. 1 year workmanship, 2 year systems, and then 6 years structural. Okay. And it's backed by a structural company. We pay for that warranty, but the workmanship and the systems is on us for year 1 and 2. So I always tell people, live in your house for a little while, make it go through a season or two, because things will expand, contract. We will have humidity and lack of humidity, and things will crack. Caulk lines will crack between countertops, and caulk lines will crack between molding, and that's part of what we do. We come back in and we fix all of that.
I love that.
And so if there's a big thing that we missed as far as paint, we'll send the painter back in right away and take care of it. Otherwise, just anything that's a workmanship item, we'll come back and repair. Now, if your 4-year-old throws toys against the wall for 3 months and bangs it all up, then that's not necessarily a warranty item.
Probably not getting any new sheetrock. You're gonna have to fix that yourself. That's so funny. But our walkthrough is we go through how to where your heat pump filters are, how to change those, how to look at your propane. Okay.
Here's who you call for this, and here's who you call for your garage door if it stops working, and warranty items. We have a whole walkthrough turnover document that we provide our customers that goes into all the serial numbers for all of their appliances so they can go online and register for them and get their warranties set up. So that's truly what the walkthrough is for.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you bring up a good point about the builder warranties. Does every builder offer similar warranties, or is that another good question? Like, hey, what does your warranty process look like? Do you have XYZ?
I think it's a great question to ask. Well, number one, I mean, obviously you need a
That was not ChatGPT. Sorry.
You need a contract. And then within the contract, some contracts discuss what's covered under a builder warranty, but the actual additional warranty that we provide a third party, it's great to ask the question if their builder provides that.
Okay.
Because it really just, is a fail safe in case there's a foundation failure.
Yeah. Ugh. That sounds horrible.
Yes.
But very rare.
Correct.
Speaking of fail safes, would you recommend finding out about their insurance? Like, is there insurance coverage through the build? Is that on the consumer? How does, like, if something happened while you're building a house, God forbid?
Yes. So in the state of Texas, you're required to have a builder risk policy on the build.
Okay.
Now, if you're a cash buyer or a cash custom home builder, you're not going through a bank, then you want to make sure that gets put in place by the builder because there's no one checking for that.
Right.
And if you're with a bank or have an interim construction loan, then they're going to require it. Some of them require it before you pour the foundation.
Oh, wow.
Ultimately, I don't usually execute them until we're about to start framing because that's really when the risk is there and the need for insurance. I will say that insurance, I've learned recently, fluctuates drastically based upon how close you are to a fire station or a fire hydrant.
Yes.
And our new subdivision just came in under it's too far away from a fire station. So our builder risk policies out there doubled.
Even from the volunteer one?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you can...
Yep. Yeah. No, I know that is something I talk to, like on the buyer side. I do say, hey, let's look and see where your hydrants are, how close you are to this, what your roof age is, like all that stuff, which isn't the roof age, obviously, brand spanking new.
Right.
So
yay.
On a custom build, that's not a concern. But yeah, it is something to think about. Or extra water sources, or, will your insurance company give you a break if you have we have we're going to put a water truck on our land. Okay. Right. Because then at least you have a source.
Right.
Anyway.
And then the other thing that's not required in the state of Texas is for general contractors to have a general liability policy. So I would ask the question, we carry one. It is a very expensive policy for a builder to carry, but it is just what we feel is the right thing to do. Haven't had to use it. But not all builders have it. So the minimum requirement, it would be a builder risk policy for that particular build.
So you at least want to make sure that's in place and then do your homework and see if you vibe with the builder.
Correct.
And then talk to their referrals and really figure it out from there.
Yes.
Okay. What else? Do you think it's important to ask what access a builder has to floor plans or an architect? Is that important? Or no, can a consumer just do that on their? I mean, I look at floor plans all day, every day.
Yes.
It's pathetic.
I think it's a great question. I think most builders you're going to run into have access to plan designers. And unfortunately, don't buy a set of plans online because you're going to end up paying somebody to redraw those at any minimal change. And that goes back to having the full set of construction documents ready to go before you start construction exactly how you want them. That makes your build process go a lot smoother and a lot more cost effective as you change things throughout the process. Change orders are more expensive than having it correct on the plans the first time.
Yeah.
So if you go look online and find ideas, because that's what we like. We like it when someone comes and says, I like this floor plan, but I want to move this, or I want to add a bedroom over here, or I need a study here. And we can manipulate that easily. But the people that buy them online, you're not going to have a site plan, and you're not going to have some of the key things, and you're not going to have the ability to make the changes that you would want.
Right. I know. And if you do look online and you see something you're like easy, customizable, blah, blah, blah. No, it's really not. And if it's like, get this floor plan for $588, you're getting a pretty picture. Like you're not getting something that's actionable. And so, but then you'll go in and you'll be like, okay, well, I need the construction plans. And then it's, okay, that's $5,300. And then at that point, if I'm going to spend that much money, I'm not ordering it online.
Right.
I'm going down and I'm talking to.
Right. Face to face.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Because then you can really explain those change orders. And can you explain to people what you mean by builder plans? Because I don't think people realize it's not just where the bedrooms go. It's also, how's your HVAC going to flow? Like, can you break that? Like, how does all
a
things?
construction set of documents includes your site plan, which is where your house fits on the property,
Okay.
and a driveway and sidewalks, so that all those can be costed appropriately for the amount of driveway and sidewalk you need. Where the
Concrete's
septic
expensive.
goes, if you have that, where you're going to put a propane tank, all that goes on your site plan.
Okay.
Then you have a floor plan, and then you have elevations. So you need to know where you want stone and siding on the front or brick. So it's all four elevations.
Okay.
A roof plan
Yes.
and electrical plan, and then usually a plumbing plan, which helps the plumber do the slab rough in, its dimensions from every slab penetration from a plumber's perspective.
Where those pipes need to come out.
Correct. And then the electrical plan is huge because there's just
Right.
so many details and nuances when it comes to that. And so that's the last step in the process is finishing your electrical plan.
Really? Okay.
And it's kind of where people lose steam. And
Really?
it's really where
Light
you need
switch
to
placement is so important to me. Maybe it's because I walk through so many houses, but I'm like, why the heck would I want to go all the way to the far side of this dark room to turn the light on? Can somebody, now I have to have motion detector lights in every room because that freaking light switch is 50 feet away from,
I agree. And so we try to help with folks with reviewing that, but it's sometimes it is just so hard to see it two-dimensional that when we actually get to the point where the electrician lays out switch boxes and outlet boxes, we do recommend you come walk it and see if there is anything that you may want to
like where you're seeing like the
change.
blue boxes on the
Yes.
wall. And you'd be
Yeah.
like, yes, no. Are those pretty easy? Would that fall under change order or is that kind of
No.
like
If
already
it's
accepted?
if it's in the
Okay.
middle of him just laying the boxes out and all the wires aren't pulled and all
Okay.
that good stuff, it's usually no big deal.
That's like, okay, we're just going to pick it.
Yes.
We're just going to go over here instead.
Right. Now, if you want to
that's
add,
cool.
I need to add two in this cabinet, and I need to add this over here, and I need to add over there, that's where you can
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
expect a little change order. And you'd want to do those before you put sheetrock on if you can.
It would be a less expensive
Correct.
change order.
Yes.
if you do it at that point.
Bingo.
Bingo. Very cool. Yeah, it's just, and I know we're just barely scratching the surface
Yes.
because there's so much that is involved. But I think these are good starting point questions of, hey, be on the lookout for this. Water is super important, and people
Yes.
and access to electricity. And I know people know it, but when you're looking for land and you see the pretty pictures and you're like, oh, that's a gorgeous rolling hill. And I'm like, well, that's going to cost you about $7,000 to get electric out to that top of that pretty hill.
Correct.
It changes somebody's mind real fast.
Right.
And so I think people need to keep, those are some big pieces other than just the house. You also have to have, okay, propane. How big is that tank going to be? Are you burying it? Is it above ground? Septic is a big cost that people don't anticipate when you're building, out of town, right?
Yes.
And then access to water and electricity. And there's a big difference when you're looking at land and somebody says there's access to utilities versus
Here's your
they're
water meter.
Yeah. So be mindful when you're looking at land listings. Watch the words that are used and make sure you ask your agent very pointed questions about what does that mean?
Correct.
And also if they don't know, maybe interview or ask your builder. But okay, so interviewing builders, I think we got do you carry some kind of insurance policy? How do you determine price per square foot, things like that, but that's not your determining factor. Is it better if somebody just says, look, I have $650,000 to spend on the whole kit and caboodle,
Right.
from land to close? Is that easier for you to work within?
It's so customer specific.
Okay.
So if somebody came to us and said, I have that budget, I would
Mm-hmm.
probably say, give me your 7 Pinterest boards so that I can make sure that all of your hopes and dreams can be executed in the amount of square footage that you have. So it's really just, it's so hard. Each individual person's so different. We've got a customer currently who's very adamant on their budget, and they will, we're making decisions, pricing out the GE Cafe appliances versus Bosch appliances. And there's about a $1,500 difference, but then they may want to do something else over here. So they're thinking, if I do that over there, then I just get the Bosch and save the $1,500. And so,
okay.
It really depends. And then there's other people that are like, oh, that's only $1,500. It's no big problem.
Right.
We'll just move
No
on.
biggie.
So it's just, everyone's a little bit different. We can handle how everybody wants to approach it with the right counsel, I would say.
I think that's a good point though, too, that if you take it from here, you can to add it to here, your budget is easily manipulated.
Yes.
Within reason.
Yes.
Because that's a very, you might have a client who said, I don't even care, put in Whirlpool.
Right.
Probably not in a custom. But, or you have somebody coming in and they're like, look, I need this Wolf gas range, but I have to have a Sub-Zero panel fridge. I mean, it can get crazy.
Yeah, that's when that can be like a $60,000 appliance package.
I'm like, that's a $20,000 refrigerator. Okay, good for you.
Correct.
You have a nice budget. Or there's people like me, and I'm like, I have to sacrifice a million other things because I need a big refrigerator.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I have to get the expensive appliance package. So I guess we'll do the subway tile or the whatever.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
But you can make those decisions and concessions. Thank you. You can make those.
Yes. And some things are easier to make concessions on that can be easily changed later.
Okay.
So like electrical fixtures,
sure. Okay,
faucets, things that you can easily pop out 6 years from now when you want the really nice, expensive one and you have the budget for it in the future. Electrical fixtures, you can get some really nice electrical fixtures that are not expensive at all. And then one day down the road, you can go get the $1,500 chandelier that you wanted.
Schmancy.
Right. Or fans or all the things.
I think that's an excellent point because people get so locked into it's got to be like, it's my dream house and it's got to be this right now. But it doesn't, because if it's your dream house and it's working out and this is your forever home,
right,
most likely, then, you've got time.
Right.
So that's a really good point. So you can put in the things that are doable right now and then upgrade later.
Right.
Okay. That's very cool. Is there anything that we've missed? I mean,
I'm sure.
Very deep
I'm sure we've
stuff
missed
we've missed.
some things.
I'm sure.
Because there's so many things.
Call one of us. I don't know if you're like, wait, you didn't ask her this.
I would say the only thing I would talk about is who should and who shouldn't build a house.
Oh, interesting.
So what personality type should delve into a custom home build and which personality types should wait and just buy a spec home if they want a new home. And it would be
indecisive people.
Right. So if you look in the mirror and you know that you can't make decisions, or you know that you make decisions and then change your mind within a week later,
sure,
you will struggle a lot through a custom build. It will be very taxing on you and your personality. Okay. So, and if you are that person, I'd say be forthright and up front with that information with your builder so that they can give you more time or build that into the process and just try to, give you a recommendation for an outside resource who may be able to help you through those things. Yeah. I feel like sometimes with us, probably being a female and enjoying the design side of things. Yeah. I feel like sometimes people look at us as the designer and the builder of the finish out on the inside. And while we have some skills in that area and we like it, that's not really what people are. We're not compensated to be an interior designer.
Right. Okay. And you work locally with people who can assist with that. You have great resources for those things.
And we have an in-house designer at Design Co. And she's amazing. And she will help with all of the selections of countertops and tile and flooring that make that all feel, and colors for, cabinets to help bring all that together.
Yeah. And you know what else I love about Alex is she's budget conscious.
Yes.
And because I was looking at a pretty piece of stone, like a gorgeous slab, and she was like, you know, you could get this one for this material. It's more durable and at this cost. I was like, oh,
Yes.
good to know. It's so easy to get distracted by shiny things. So
Yes.
if you squirrel like me, you
Correct.
definitely need somebody
To keep you in line.
get your back.
And everybody we send to Design Co. Before they show up, the Design Co. has their budget and has their floor plan, and so they have an idea of how to steer them and keep them in those guardrails instead of letting them just free for all out there.
Yeah, there's way too many choices to
Correct.
just be like,
Yes,
here you go, have fun, run with it.
you fall into
No.
a $40 square foot tile,
Right. You'll just be like, oh, that's pretty. I have that. Like, Scott hates it. Scott, my husband. If I'm looking online at stuff and I was like, ooh, I really like those boots. For some reason, the boots I like are the $1,300 pair.
I feel you. I am the same way. And we do, and I have customers that know that on the front end too. They're like, I always end up with the, very fancy taste. I pick out the very expensive things.
Like, not even on purpose.
And then, but they're all realistic and say, oh, well, I don't want to spend that much.
No.
And I can be happy with this.
Good.
And it's in my budget.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Definitely staying budget. Definitely find a builder who is happy to keep you within your budget.
I think it's good. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think anytime you consult with somebody, whether it's a real estate agent, a jewelry designer, a builder, a car salesman,
Yes.
like the people who are conscious of what you need and the budget you need to stay within, those are the people you stick with.
Yeah.
Somebody who's like, well, what about this? Why don't we add this on? Are you sure you don't want 500 extra square feet? Yes, I'm sure, because that's, a lot more money. So
Right.
thank you. We'll live. All right. Okay. Did we get it? A good starting point for people?
I think so.
Okay, I think so. I think that's a lot. We talked about the land, when to bring a builder in. Talked about like rough-ins and change orders and insurance and design. Okay, this feels good. If you are listening and you feel like, actually, I did have another question, feel free. Deanna, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way if they're like, they're raising their hand with a, what about this question? Just on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
Garrison Construction LLC.com.
Great. And if you have any other questions, I just missed it, you can always reach out to me on What's Up Waco or at Boys Vert Realty Team, Facebook and Instagram, and I can get you an answer or do our best to get an answer for you. But this should be a good jumping off point for people who are thinking about doing a custom home. And maybe if your personality is not lined up with the custom build, you know what else? Wait, as I'm wrapping up, I stop myself. Relationships. People always feel very stressed out. But I think if you start on the front end and kind of hammer out some of those details in the beginning, have you found that that's a little bit easier on like partners, husbands, wives, whatever?
I think so. Yes, it helps. But sometimes it doesn't. As much as you can prepare somebody, my one thing I do ask customers and say, I explain to them very early on in the process, you will be the happiest if you don't go in your house every day.
Yes.
And if you go in your house every day, then it will not feel like it's changing and you will not have the big, I love this at the end. And as many times as I've told that to folks, some people can't resist it.
Yeah.
And if you could not go in the last 2 weeks in general, period,
Right.
you would be also a much happier person when you're at the end of the build.
100%.
It's one of those things where it's trust. It's trust your builder, trust the process. And then, at turnover, you'll come in and see that, all those things you were going to point out are now resolved.
Right. Well, and that's great. Everybody loves a before and after. Right?
Yes.
So don't take that away from yourself.
Right. I was watching some of the HGTV shows recently because I do enjoy some of them.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people have that feeling like where you go from beginning to end, but the end has all the furniture and all of the staging and all of that stuff done. Just realize in a custom home build that's not happening.
Oh, yeah, that too. It's going to be
beautiful
empty.
and clean and done, but it's not going to have a super wow factor on it.
Right. So, but that's good advice to just stay out the last couple weeks.
Yes.
Let everybody do what they need to do. Trust people to do their job.
Yeah. You can stop by once a week during the build process.
Okay.
It's always nice to have an extra set of eyes in case something isn't right that we haven't caught. But for the most part, as long as it's on the plans, it'll be done correctly.
And rely on the professionals.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're doing. And you know like, I just think it's funny because I know my father-in-law, I love you, Ron, but he went on site so often. And he would ask us this and ask us that. And we were like, no, they'll get it. They'll get it. And now they love their home and how it worked out.
I'm glad they do.
But thank you so much for being here today. Yes. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
Always. You are a wealth of knowledge and always my go-to for construction questions. So
thank you.
You're very welcome. If you're thinking about building a custom home or you have any other questions about it, feel free to reach out. Check out Garrison Construction LLC.com. You can see their portfolio as well and some gallery pictures. Those are pretty because they're staged. So don't expect your house to look like that immediately when it's done. But eventually, when you move your furniture in, it'll look like that. And if you have real estate questions or need tips on how to buy or sell real estate in Waco, Texas, follow Boisvert Realty Team on Facebook and Instagram. And I think now you've learned about construction in Central Texas, and that is what's up Waco. Do you have a topic you want to talk about? Do you have questions about Waco, the real estate market, how to sell your house, what to look for when you're buying a home? Send me an email, ericasellstexas@gmail.com. Shoot me a text, 254-447-0180. Happy to chat about it. Find me anywhere you listen to your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.